With Stone, Joe Morello says I was just 17, and I had somehow or other gotten into the Colonial Tavern, and I started talking to him between sets, and then the next thing I would go to his hotel, and he would lay stuff down, and he was the guy that said practice on a pillow was good for your touch, and he used to play terrifying things on a pillow, and at gigs he used to, like, anybody wanted to know something, he just fold up a serviette on the table and it happened, you know, with that same simplicity as well, Joe was a guy that blew my mind and got me to go and see Stone, and I spent, I think, a lot of time with Stone because I must have been, I can't remember how old I was when I went in the Army, probably 19, maybe 20, I don't know.
Did he have stick control and stuff like that when you were singing?
Oh yeah.
So did you learn out of that book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the Dodge drum chart, and the book, Joe Morello and I got this together. Stone would take a piece of, you don't remember what carbon paper was, but you used to put it in a typewriter, and you get the original and you get a copy behind. So he used to sit and put 2 pieces of paper down with a carbon paper, and he would write you out an exercise. And Joe and I were both getting this same thing.
These are like exercises he worked on?
Excuse me. What I was getting was actually Accents and Rebounds book.
Oh, okay.
That was, we got it in raw sheets, one sheet at a time. Yeah. It was amazing. It just, and you tell people that happened, and they look at you like you're, you know, must have been some funny drugs you kids were on, boy. How could you carbon paper? You know, it was really, it was a great revelation. Yeah, I must have been there for 4 years, maybe more, and I would go and see him after. I would go in and pop in if I was on the road, like with the National Ballet or the whoever, and we're a train ride away from Boston. I would go in and see him and get a lesson, or he used to call them brushing up. So Stone's studio was in a really crappy part of Boston, which has been burnt to the ground, and they had a thing in Boston called the Big Dig, and they took all of the railway tracks that ran under like Huntington Avenue and whatever, and they compressed them into like 4 sets of rails, and that was I think the Boston, Ohio, who else came down that far? I think maybe New York Central. And so all of a sudden there was thousands of acres of land that was open, and they put buildings in there and hotels, and it became a really upscaley part of town. But Hanover Street was a dungeon, and it was just, Stone's father owned the building. I know that for a fact. And he probably paid $20 for the building. It was just a frame walk-up fire trap. Had an elevator operator. Had a guy who'd been there forever and ever and ever. Always said good morning to you, and then as soon as you got in, he sat on the chair, and you could stand, and he'd till you got up to the floor. It was educational. Though that was that part of town was my first view of Boston, and I thought, Christ, I've lived in worse places than this. So Stone came from because he could read and all that stuff. He would go on the road. He was like a vaudevillian. He would go out and play all those shows. I can remember he took me to, I think it was called the Globe Theatre, and he said, I want you to see this guy play because he's the most marvelous drummer, but he makes his living playing xylophone. And this guy's name was Pansy, and I think his last name was Clifford. And Pansy Clifford came out, and he was just like, just as gayer than springtime, right? Just all over the place. But could he play those mallets? It was just unreal. It was just, and that's that's that vaudeville thing. You sing, and then you play a style, and then it's part of your thing, and that's the end of it. Yeah, Pansy was, and Stone loved him. Stone thought he was a really, really great. I think he was one of the guys that Stone really, really respected because of the way he played and how well Stone thought he